Ever since we were children, I suppose, everyone has told us that it's necessary, it's extremely important that we face our fears. It's extremely important that we be the heroes and that we overcome any obstacle that comes our way. But we always felt as if they never actually taught us, in a sense, to do so. They've never actually made us properly understand what those words actually mean. And that's what we will get into in this video. So, to briefly introduce myself, I'm Thomas Hill. This channel's called The Tomster. And I went from being semi-depressed, having almost nothing when it comes to friends, when it comes to individual success, when it comes to achievements. And now 1.5 years have gone by and I feel extremely happy to be myself. And this is due to the fact that I've faced many things that I feared doing, and I've overcome many obstacles, and I finally understand what doing those things actually mean. And let's start off with an example which I believe many of you watching this video from like any background will understand. And I'll have to take you back to, let's say, let's say 1.5 years ago. I gave you the story about the fact that I was semi-depressed, but in that same year, I started to get slightly more confident. I started watching certain like self-improvement YouTubers that really helped me like get my life back together, and I was in a slightly better position. It had been 1 month since my big turning point, and yeah, I don't want to get into too many specifics regarding that period, but if you want to do so, I could like potentially give a story of how that happened and how I got into the state that I am now. But let's just fast forward, and yeah, it's December and I'm going to like this big party, and I'm really nervous because it's been like 6 months since I last gone to a party. And let's say the last time wasn't the best experience because many people joked around at the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing. And so this is like it's not like a friend's party, it's like an actual like organized party. It's kind of like going to the club, but it's for like children. So it's a bit. Mm. So anyway, I'm really nervous because the last time I went there, it was a bit awkward. And so the same day that I'm supposed to go, I start to get these really like anxious thoughts. I started to get really anxious, and I'm like mad at myself for buying the ticket and for accepting going there. And so I'm like really nervous, I'm really anxious, and I start to feel as if I should pretend to be sick so I don't go in. I wasn't afraid of losing that 10-15 euros I spent on buying the ticket, and I was actually pretending to feel sick to both my parents and my friends so I could not go in. And honestly, the 14-year-old me would have went along with it till the end. The 14-year-old me would have pretended to be sick and then gone through with it completely, pretend to be sick the whole time and not go at all. I had changed at that point. I was 15, not 14 at that time. And so I decided that in the end I would go and I would face my fear and end up going to the party. Now, this video isn't saying that to face your fears you should go to parties. I know a lot of you prefer not to get into that stuff because it's slightly degenerate or really degenerate depending on what you do in those places, and I pretty much agree. But it was kind of a simple example which many people will understand to help me address the situation and to talk about it. So let's look at why we get these feelings of anxiety when doing stuff which in reality we would want to actually do. And for example, I heard a story from one of my friends talking about like this big trip which him and his family were going to do, which originally he was really scared of doing. And by the time he did it, he was just really happy and really satisfied with it. And so he was so glad that he faced his fears to actually end up doing this trip, which was like a really dangerous trip. It was like driving through the mountains. They were like hiking in this dangerous area. And he was pretty much telling me that it's extremely important for you to try out these experiences, which, although you do want to do deep inside, you're really scared of actually committing to it and actually doing it. And it's all pretty much connected to the fact that we have these primitive, let's say, these primitive instincts of not trying any of this dangerous stuff because it could cost us our life. And we can't really blame these instincts because it's the same instincts that kept us alive for thousands and thousands of years. Let's talk about our caveman ancestors. It was the feeling that helped the caveman ancestors attack, let's say, the deer instead of attacking the giant woolly mammoth. Because chances are that if they were facing a woolly mammoth, and maybe they would have taken him down, but chances are the woolly mammoth would have killed maybe one or two people if a fight was to go on. And so instead they went for like the deer, and so they killed it more easily and no one had to get hurt. But we know that times have changed, and we live in an era where we're so satisfied by the comfort of our homes, where we can pretty much do anything, that we don't feel the same primal motivation to go out and do extreme stuff. Why should we? Our caveman ancestors had to work for their food. We could have the laziest day of our lives where we watch TV all day and we still would have access to plenty of food and plenty of different ways of comfort. Our caveman ancestors wouldn't ever be able to do such a thing. If one day they decided to not get out of bed, they would starve to death. And as I said, times have changed. I'm not saying we should live as cavemen, but I'm just saying that these instincts that when we were cavemen were helped us survive have now driven us to live more comfortable and lazy lives instead of actually facing our fears and doing the extreme. So, what is the conclusion, or what are the conclusions that we can extract from the 10 minutes of video that you've seen so far. Pretty much that for us as humans, it is extremely important, it's fundamental for us to actually do extreme stuff and to face the feelings of anxiety and nervousness that we might feel when facing something that, although we want to do, we're kind of scared of doing, because it will help us improve as humans and it will help us maintain that drive that will overall allow us to achieve our goals. Keep a strong mind and stay like a lion. Mwah.